Phoebus is powering clear. 5-1 up the Newmarket Hill. Keep going, Buick. Oh God, he's going to get caught. Where's the post? Where's the post?
And a very big warm welcome to the Bastards Inquiry Craven podcast. This is where the best of us get together and try and find you some winners for the Craven meeting. It's the usual format as the Friday show, where we're going to talk about the best races after we've given the best bet round, which is our 3 best bets for the 3 days. And it does look a corker. There's some potentially very good races at the Craven meeting this year. It's not disappointing like it has sometimes in the past. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce who's on this show. John Lang. Good evening, John.
Evening, Lee. Evening, everybody.
Jack Veach. Good evening.
Good evening, Lee.
And finally, Quentin Franks. Good evening.
Evening, Lee.
Yes, Walton style, that one. On to the...
Does that mean we have to start shagging each other?
Well, that little house on the prairie. I don't know.
No, they were little girls, for God's sake.
We haven't even got to the best bet.
Apple clean.
Yeah, apple clean. Yeah. Right, I'll get Abby McGregor back on, John. She'll put you straight. Onwards and upwards to the best bets. This is the 1 point round, 3rd best bet. I'm coming straight away to Jack Veach because he's got the most enthusiasm amongst us, so he could start the show.
Well, to be fair, it is one of my favourite weeks of the year, and as you said, we look like we got some decent fare in hand here, so I'm looking forward to it. First bet comes in the first race on Wednesday, the 150, and horse in question is Eve Johnson Horton trained Bacento. Interesting horse, this one. Had a decent juvenile career, finished behind some nice types, finished behind the Foxes on debut, who I know is a horse we like a lot. Decent eye catcher on that, did some good work late. Same again on his second start at Newbury. And then his final juvenile start was a nice run behind Exoplanet, who I like a lot of variants. Again, did his best work late, finished the next second. I don't think that's bad form at all. He's definitely a 90-plus type, that horse. We saw him again a couple of weeks back at Wolves in what looked like a rare half-decent novice. I know that's a race we were all talking about because there were a few horses of interest there. And the market was a funny one that day. I mean, the first three in the race actually were all kind of flip-flopping for favouritism. And Bacento actually went off a half-decent, well, pretty strong 11-8 fav in that one. Didn't really run his race. I think he probably got to the front too soon. I wasn't quite sure about the tactics, but he's ran okay. I mean, I was certainly happy enough with him in terms of how he's developed physically for his 3-year-old career. And, you know, finishing behind Docklands and the Horse of Hills is no bad thing. Got a couple of pounds back for his troubles, which I was more than happy with. And he comes back here a couple of weeks later in what looks like a pretty open race. I mean, if the early markets are anything to suggest, it's sort of 7-1 bar at the moment. So it's certainly not worked itself out. But I see he's been stuck in at sort of 14s, 16s, which I'm more than happy to row in with. I think the return to turf and up to a mile will certainly be a positive. And yeah, quite happy to take a flyer at him. I think he's certainly got more than 84 in him. I see this as a 90-plus type in time.
Good stuff indeed. That, yeah, it did run okay on reappearance. Probably that was, like I said, a very warm race behind the Charlie Hills runner. As we highlighted, John's follow was second in that. Docklands looks a nice horse. 16-1, Jack. Are you on the nose or each way?
Yep, on the nose for me, Lee.
1 point win percenter for Jack to kick us off at 16-1. John, coming to you.
150 Wednesday. Get your arse ready, Nell.
Asthmatic horse time.
It is, I'm afraid, yeah.
Didn't take long, did it?
No, I think this is overpriced because they're raiding so much into the third at Wolverhampton, to be honest. I think this run into a right pair of fucking asses, to be honest. I think he probably hit his mark that night. I don't think he'll mind the soft ground. I echo everything Jack said, and I think he represents a bit of value here.
Yeah, certainly looks definitely underlooked, you'd say, by the market.
Yeah.
You know, like the books obviously have put them in. People are taking prices as we speak, even though it is Wednesday.
No, looked at this and just decided he's got dicked in and out with a novice, and
yeah,
and that's his limit. Yeah, Absolutely. Yeah, again, tremendous value. 16-1 for a Claxon on the Craven show. What more can you want? A brilliant start, chaps. Quentin Franks.
My 1 point bet, Lee, comes in the 14.25 on Tuesday. Likely to start the meeting on soft ground, so I'm going to go with a horse that's going to appreciate soft ground. Horse at the top of the market, New Kingdom, looks plenty short enough. Ran at Ascot on, I think it was good to soft ground, and the wheels spun after half travelling through the race. I think it's a vulnerable favourite. Horse I want to have on side is Rebel Territory. So horse I know well, multiple soft ground form. He's by Territoire, and I just think that he's gonna keep on improving. Came out last season on seasonal reappearance in May at Sandown, won well in a good time. Back down to a mark of 93. I think the key here is dropping back in trip. He's a free going horse. And just, I think it's been quality getting him through over a mile and 9 furlongs. Given the way he goes through his races, I think the drop to 7's going to suit. Hopefully a forward, hopefully just Crowley just lets him roll on and get on with things. He's been nibbled in the market, but there's generally 11 or 2 about. I think that's a shade overpriced.
Yeah, indeed. I think you get bigger than that. Hang on, I'm just checking this. Rebel Territory.
6s with Entain firms.
Yes, 6s with the Entain firms. So a point on the nose, Quentin, for Rebel Territory, yes?
Yes, please.
It's a good point what you say about dropping in trip could actually improve him, because he, like you say, he is very hard on himself. And so that could be certainly worthwhile in pointing out that could be an improvement. And like you say, he's off the right mark where he's done it off this mark before. So I like the selection. But I'm going to go against you, Quentin. My 1 point is in the same race for reasons that I think this really should be Fav. I agree with Quentin totally about the Fav. I don't think that even should be favourite, because beating Dirty Old Town by a head at Doncaster is not form that I'm looking at really with a real strong angle here. Okay, it's done well in Dubai, but they've got the carrots out there, etc. So I'm not really bothered about that. So I wouldn't have him as favourite. Thackeray Bay is the one I'm interested in, because Ryan Moore on the horse I think is a massive plus. He rode the horse in the free handicap last year. And basically, this horse, again, is another one like your selection, Quentin, where he's quite hard on himself. But again, the drop to 7 won't hurt. It might look like he's disappointed badly in the Doncaster race last time, but it was desperate, terribly desperate ground. And when you're that keen, you're not going to get home. So the run at Wolverhampton was very eye-catching. I can remember you, Jack, saying about the Wolverhampton run at Thackeray Bay in the Lincoln trial, which isn't a Lincoln trial, but anyway, he did shape very well in that, and that said to me he's still all there. If you look at his form last season, third in the Balmoral, that's very good form. Second to Tempest at Ascot. He's got a lot of big race handicap form. 5th in the Big Goodwood 7 furlong handicap. From stall 11 over the 7 furlongs, which is never easy. I just feel that, with Ryan Moore back on, I thought 13-2 is a value price. I would have him probably around the 4-1 mark. I think it's a mark he can go well off, and with Ryan in the saddle, I think, in a race where there's not a lot that well in. Quentin's aside, I do agree with Quentin that Rebel Territory could certainly run a big race, but yeah. So I'm going with Thackeray Bay for my 1 pointer. Okay, that's round 1. John Lang, start us off with round 2.
It's a good job we haven't got Bear Steward's TV up and running, because I'm currently sat here in an orange boiler suit being held hostage by the Lambourne Popular Front, threatening to behead me if I didn't tip at least one horse this season from this yard. 2:25 Wednesday, or Rapsy, or trained by my good friend Mr. Charlie Hills. He missed his 3-year-old season after a pretty promising year, I thought, at 2. He went off favourite for the Rose Bowl at Newbury after he won on his debut at Windsor. He could have won that. He sustained a cut on the knee, apparently. He bombed out in the gimcrack, but he was only 15 to win the gimcrack. He started this season on a mark in the 8. He was way too fresh and gassy after a year off on debut. I found it very interesting that he comes here in this grade, and I think he's probably worth chancing here. He might need another one to get the fizz off him, but I'm willing to chance it because I don't think it'll take a lot of winning this.
So that's a Razzia for Charles Hills. Susan Roy owns the horse.
Anyway, he gets beat, I can say the trailer shite.
Indeed, John. So we'll put you down at 7-1 because two firms are going it. That's William Hill and Skybet. Are you two on the nose?
Yes. I mean, right. if he sees he'll bomb out anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Straight back to me then. Before we come to the good judges, Jack and Quentin. My second best goes on Thursday in the Craven, and I'm very, very keen. Jack wrote fondly about this horse in his 2000 Guineas preview on our Patreon, and I'm very keen on Night for the Simon Crisford Yard. I can remember was it the Horrid Hill last back end?
Pain.
It was pain for me and Quentin. Me and Quentin had enormous bets on the second horse, which is an absolute slot beast in Gray's Monument, which also has an entry for this race. But the way that Knight disposed of him was something very, very taking. And not only did he dispose of him, he was clearing away at the line, which is saying something because Gray's Monument is a miler, really. And that's why Gray's Monument got done. He just got done for two, but he wouldn't have beaten Knight at a mile. In fact, Knight was just going, I think it would have gone further clear. So this is a high-class horse, and we know he'll go in under the conditions. A lot of these may not. And it's unusual for a Maymass, really, to go in conditions like this. But Knight has proven he can do it. And I thought at the prices, Mysterious Knight's favourite, but I thought Knight's form in that Horrid Hill is strong because I know how in high regard I had the Beckett horse it beat. So 5-1, that's with Skybet and Port Vale, and that's my 2 points win in the Craven on Thursday. Jack Veach.
My second best bet, Lee, comes on Wednesday in the 3:00 Fielden Stakes. Decent renewal this race, actually. I know a few have dropped out at deck stage, but a lot of them have stood their ground. And it's a bit of a boring selection, but the horse in question is Bold Act of Charlie Appleby's. I really liked. He's got some strong juvenile form. 3 wins as a 2-year-old. Couple coming at the course, which is always all three of them, coming at the course. All 3 of his races anyway. And I liked his reappearance at Chelmsford. I was actually on another horse that day, Think Climate, who sadly I think has gone a little bit backwards, but he made a lot of the running. Bold Act didn't have the easiest passage. I think he missed the break, which doesn't always help. Got himself caught in traffic, managed to grab the rail, and actually I think he won with a little bit in hand in what I think is a half decent race there at Chelmo. I think it'll improve for the step up in trip here. And it's more of a market play, this one, to be honest with you. I pretty much assumed he'd be opened at Fav and wasn't. They stuck the Gosden horse in there, which ran well in a bit of a tin pot looking novice at Newcastle, probably open to a lot of improvement. But I think Appleby's record at this meeting and the course in general is pretty much second to none. It's the choice of Buick. Couldn't quite see why he opened as big as sort of 7-2, 100-30 sort of price. I'd have him more at the kind of 2-1, 5-2, 2-1, 9-4 sort of mark. So more than happy to stick 2 points on the nose on Bold Act.
I agree, Jack. I would have him favourite. The Intenso is a Siuni as well from the all-weather to turf, so that's something we can probably talk about later on the show. But 100-30 with Paddy Power, Betfair and William Hill, and a good selection, Jack. 2 points there on Bold Act in the Fielden. Quentin Franks finished the round.
My 2-point bet, Lee, comes in the Fielden, and my into the race is kind of opposing the Gosden Jolly. Intenso looks plenty short enough at 5-2, 11-4 sort of range. Beat a dog in a poor time at Newcastle, Johnston's and something or whatever. But as you said, Siuni's generally top of the ground all weather, and it's 2 siblings, Amtiaz and Najiba, top of the ground and all weather. Not convinced that'll want soft ground. It's on Wednesday. We don't know how much it would have dried up by then. I kind of thought Bold Act was a shade short enough, given he got like a charm passage down the inside at Chelmsford, and it just didn't really appeal as strong form going into a race. I was a bit underwhelmed by kind of how he won. Horse I won on the side that I kind of feel has been underrated in the market is Canberra Legend. Big scopy son of Australia, wasn't ready at all first time out, despite being 8 to 11 in the market. Beat a well-regarded one, Marco Botti's Caribus Bay, and you had the 8th come out and knock out a good time at Pontefract. Step up in trip should be absolutely no issue at all. The way he moves and the fact he's half brother to Youth Spirit, who won the Chester Vase on soft, suggests that ground should be no issue at all. I kind of think the market's just underplaying the all-weather form here. You've got Blanchland, who drops back a furlong in trip, which he looks like he wants to go up in trip. I kind of thought Canberra Bay would be like 5 to 1, 11 to 2. So 10s with a couple of firms, which is a large price.
It is indeed. Are you win or each way? Is that a daft question?
It's a stupid question.
It is. Quentin literally is on the nut all the time, really. Quentin, have you ever got each way on this show? I don't know if you have. You haven't, have you? No. Never done it? No.
Never done it.
Right. Okay. That completes the second round. I'll kick us off then with round 3. These are our best bets for the week. And we have another Klaxon. It is in the Fielden Stakes in the 3 o'clock at Newmarket on the Wednesday, and it's Canberra Legend. This is again. I like Jack's horse because I saw there's a lot more to come. The Chelmsford ride didn't get to the bottom of him. He's definitely a lot more to come, and I would have him. I'd price him up as favourite. But having said that, I'm in Quentin's camp here because of the price. 10 to 1 for Canberra Legend is absolutely enormous. This horse really impressed me. A snout of mine that sort of gets theirs right more than wrong has come on and said that this really James Ferguson believes that this will be the best he's ever trained. And they're that keen on this horse. They think. I mean, if you look at the entries, he had a Craven entry on the Thursday. He's entered in the Dante. He's entered in both Guineas. He's entered in the Derby. That should tell you enough to say you don't really need to know that if this is any good, do you? But when James Ferguson thinks that this could be the best he's ever trained, I think we need to look. And Quentin rightfully points out the half brother Youth Spirit. Actually ran in this race and got beat, finished 4th, but ended up very, very useful over 1.5 miles and beyond. And this fellow looks to have a touch of class about him. So for price reasons, that's where I'm at 10 to 1. I'm not going to go win. I am wankering for an each way, 1.5 points each way, because I do respect, and I respect Regal Honour, but we'll get onto that later in the show. We'll talk about the Fielden in more detail to round it off. So that's where I start the max bets round. Canberra Legend with another asthmatic horse, Klaxon. 2 Klaxons, brilliant, love it. John Lang.
I'm back in some quiet trainers this week. 3 o'clock Tuesday. This will be no surprise to regular readers of my column, either of them. And this is Gobby Roger with Toshi Zoo. Now, he told us he hadn't done as much with this one as he had with his Spring Mile winner just before the Lincoln. And to be fair to the Gobby sod, the horse looked slack enough pre-race. In the race itself, he ran with credit, I thought. And me thinking here is if Bradley wanted this one down the ratings after buying him last year, he wouldn't be trailing to HQ for a not-off. So it's safe to assume we're going here trying. I would think if he can just about hit his mark here, I think he'll be right in amongst it. The price compensates for any worries about this coming a bit soon after the Lincoln, which it does, to be fair. I'd have preferred him to really prep this for the mile handicap at the Dante, but, we are dealing with Gobby Roger here. We're not talking genius trainers, are we? I think he'll be all right. I think we'll probably get away with it, but I am going to go and each way wanker it, I'm afraid, at 1.5 points each way.
Yeah, you get 5 pegs with the more. 4 pegs.
Pegs is ready for.
4 pegs for Gobby Roger at 16s. I'm not going to give you the 20s with Port Vale. That's a standout price, but we're trying to be more fair this season after everyone's moaning.
I'll back it with Dinesh anyway.
Yeah. Excuse me. So 16 to 1 for John about Toshi Zoo. ran well in the Lincoln, just finished behind Bo Pedro over O'Meara's. I thought that shaped quite well in the Lincoln also. So, yeah, Unforgotten might not handle the surface. So, yeah, good selection from John in the max bet. Coming to the best two judges again now in Jack and Quentin. Going to go with Quentin.
I'm going Dutchley in the 1350 on what day are we? Wednesday, 1350 Wednesday. I'm going Dutch with it's kind of comes from the same race as Owless. I mentioned the other day, it's a race I kind of want to follow. Feel it's strong enough form. Owless has come out and won since. Fanshaw's in fourth, has came out and ran well in a strong enough Kempton race. The two I want to go Dutch with is Connemara Coast and Dream Pirate. Connemara Coast started out in a deep enough novice at Ascot, came on for that when winning at Wolverhampton, having a run of the race. Came back at Lingfield, carrying condition, but had improved physically, done well by Cedar Moon, so it's expected to be a better 3-year-old, be a better 4-year-old, and came home plenty quick enough. I think it's 105.97 finishing speed in a race where the pace kind of held up. Suggested there was a lot more to come. The course didn't suit Niels Hampered and kind of finished with hands and heels riding. They've ended up with a low enough mark, and a mark of 81 doesn't really scratch the surface of him. Other horse in question from the race, Dream Pirate, I felt wasn't suited by the course, to be honest. He was kind of out wide a bit and hung off the bend, found a bit of trouble in running, and he's ended up with a basement of this level of 73. And Andrea Zany is a positive booking for the yard. And I'm pretty sure they're both well handicapped from physical standpoint. They'll do better with a bit of time as well. So they're the two I want on side. I think they're we got 8, 9 to 1 and 12 to 1.
Yeah, I can give you definitely 9 to 1 for Connemara Coast. That's with the Entane firms. And the other one was Dream Pirate. That's 12 to 1 with the Entane and Paddy's Betfair. In fact, general Dream Pirate. So that's very fair. So 1.5 on each for Quentin. I'd like to just ask you a quick question on that race, because that's one we're not going to be covering in the analysis at the end of this. Did you think Connemara Coast was off at Lingfield? I didn't.
No, not at all. It was all hands and heels. He came in for Market Sport early, I think, then just drifted strongly on the show. I just thought it was plain float up, to be honest, and it served its purpose because he's got a low enough mark.
Yeah, no, I was looking at this race in detail, so I know what Jack and John's tipped a klaxon in this, but I sort of get what do you think about Dream Pirate though? I'm trying to work him out because he travelled really strongly at Lingfield, like the wrath of God. I don't know. He was on the dead rail, I suppose, but do you worry about him going through with it?
Dead rail's never no good at Lingfield, especially throughout the winter. It seems just ride even deeper, to be honest. And that was, I think, his reappearance on mid-February, mid-end of February, and he's ends up on the dead rail. He came in for a fair bit of market support that day as well, which I thought was interesting, given I know it's not really a yard that tend to fire many bullets at novices / maidens. So it looked a strong heat. That I know Burglar's came out and been beaten since, but the run of the race didn't suit that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got a fair bit more to come.
Some really good choices on that race, both Jack and John and yours. So that is an interesting handicap, really wide open. Okay, right, Jack, you can finish us off in style.
Well, I'll do my best, Lee. It's a shame Neb's not here. I know he's more of a sticks man, but I'm afraid we got another klaxon.
Yes,
yeah, 3.
And we're back to the 225 on Tuesday. And the horse in question is Takarib Bay.
Yes.
Indeed. Literally same case as yourself, Lee, and Quentin to a degree. I wanted to take on the Fav here. I don't think he's particularly well handicapped off 105. I know he won in Maidan, but Maidan is Maidan, as we know. Takarib Bay is a horse I like a lot. As you mentioned, Lee, that Wolves run was positive. I backed him for the Lincoln off the back of that. I was pretty disappointed that they took him out. But I guess it's an indication of maybe where the yard value the horse to stick him into a listed event. I think he is of listed quality. You know, the ground was hopeless that day. I think he goes fine on soft, but that was real heavy stuff and won't have suited. I think he's got a race in him off this mark, and as you mentioned, more in the pilot as the pilot is no bad thing. I think the drop to 7 is fine. He's got good soft ground form at Haydock over 7. I think he could take them along here, and I think he might just be the class horse in the race. Certainly respect Quentin's choice, but outside of that, I think we're looking at a bunch of horses who are probably handicapped to where they are, and was more than happy with the price. I thought he'd be a touch shorter.
Indeed, Hodler will like the ground, but he's up heavily in class. Juan Lepin might be better at 6, and this could be a pipe opener for those lads. Spirit of Light, big doubts about the ground. Vaffatino was in a claiming race last year, so it showed you that they didn't think that was particularly ready to start firing bullets off its very lofty rating. Final Watch looks badly handicapped, and Al Rafar is shit. So so we've done it, and the Godolphin horse isn't well handicapped. So we've done it. Me or Quentin and you, Jack, we've done it. We can start celebrating now. Right, so we hope you enjoyed our tremendous selections with 3 Claxons from the best flat judges in the game. Yeah, this is just great stuff. And not short prices either. None of this nonsense. So we've kept the short price blogger bets out of it, and we've got some real big prices to look forward to this week. Patreon subscribers, of course, you get it before the lot that won't part with the 7. They have to wait till 9 o'clock in the morning. So well done you for paying the 7.
Smash all the prices in overnight.
Yes, smash them all in and leave them with nothing. Leave them with nothing. Right. On to the analysis part of the show. We're going to cover some of the major races at the Craven meeting. If we've time, we might go on to any other business in case some of you shrewd judges, Quentin, Jack and John, you've got maybe some notes to share. But we'll go on to the Earl of Sefton tomorrow, which is a race over a mile and a furlong. And Poker Face, his favourite, probably it's drifted. It was put in at 7-4. It's now drifted to 9-4. It's getting to a more backable price. People might be wondering out there, Jack, Quentin, John, why a horse rated 101 is 9-4 against horses rated 113, 110, 111. Anyone want to start me off?
Reach for a moon's a cunt.
It's a good starting point, isn't it?
It is.
They've stuck the blinds on him. They've taken the knackers off, but you kind of saw his run in St. Cloud. He just didn't want to know. I know Rab was on and they've got Frankie on, but John didn't like him throughout last season, crabbed his attitude early doors, and he's just not gone the right way, has he? Poker Face broke the clock at Pontefract. It's kind of a hard one to assess. I think like Graham North, who listens, said he found it hard to assess the times and do the time figures for that. That meeting itself, given he came near the stand side rail, it was tricky. Clearly, he's a classy animal. They'd punted him in at Donny. I think it was 130 into levels or something before they pulled him out on heavy ground. I think he probably wins this, and I think 5-2 gets me to the party.
Yeah, Jack, didn't you have some info? Didn't you get some info at Doncaster for this?
Yeah, no, I know a couple of lads in around that yard, and they really like him. I think they see him as a Group 2, bordering on Group 1 horse potentially this year. So, yeah, I wouldn't be keen to take him on as with QF. If he drifted a little bit more, I'd probably get involved. As Quentin put it, reach for the moon is the proverbial sea. I don't think we're going to see much from him this season. I did like Ottoman Fleet. His win back end here was really impressive, and I think he could certainly step on a bit this year. Had a bit of a middling Maidan campaign, but I never really take that form with much credence. Thought the interesting one in here, not from a betting standpoint, but just to see him here is Epic Poet. Decent horse in France. Not quite sure how he's ended up under the handling of Freddie and Martin Mead. I wouldn't call that a trainer upgrade from Rouget, that's for sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. He's taken a bit of a walk in the market out to sort of 18s today. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a positive run from him. And Massacada equally had some half decent form last year, 4th in the Derby. He was a bit of a nut job, and they've took the knackers off over winter, which can only be a positive. But yeah, Poker Face would be the one for me, but not screaming out for a bet for me so far.
Yeah, good stuff. John, what do you reckon? The King has now got Camilla on the names of the horses as well.
He's obviously pussy whipped, isn't he?
Yes. He's done all 4s, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to think of a new nickname now for those in the Royal colours, won't we?
Yeah.
The one I liked here was Radoberg. His third trainer in as many years. First run for Mr. Bowie.
King Carrots.
Yeah, knackers off. I think he won the Irish Lincoln last year when I tipped him for Murta. I think he's still got a little bit of potential. I don't think 107's his sailing. He'll like the ground and he'll see it out well, I think. So I think he's a bit of value each way.
Radoberg for the Ammo Carrots, George Bowie Carrots team. With Megan Nichols as better half at 12-1, John. That's your value for the race. I like it.
You'll get up early tomorrow now, Kevin. You're gonna be on the telly. It's on the telly tomorrow, Kevin. You'll get yourself there early.
Kevin start another one on all fours. Right. Right. We got. Have they messed about with the Tuesday, John? I thought they always used to be something on a Tuesday, like rather than like Wednesday and
Now Gwyn on its own, wasn't it? And shows
It's the free handicap, isn't it? That's gone.
Is it gone? What a disgrace. I'm a traditionalist. I don't like things to go. Anyway. So
you've only said where's the fucking free handicap after spending 24 hours studying the fucking car.
He had a bet in it, I
think. You're right. Actually, yeah.
I think they replaced it with this 7 furlongs conditions race, which it's got like a double the size field of the free handicap. So
Animals Rising have got rid of the free handicap.
That was the trade-off.
Ticketing Newmarket and come you bastards, this is a fucking death trap into that dip. 9 stone fucking 7 on a 3-year-old.
Giving a stone away. Okay, on soft ground. It's cruel. Right. On to Wednesday, probably a better day's racing in terms of quality, of course. And the Fielden is a cracking field. And obviously, myself, Quentin and Jack are going head-to-head in that. We can have some more detailed view. But first of all, I'd like to get your view, John, on what you think might win the Fielden.
Interesting race. Sure. I like Canberra Legend very, very much. He hasn't done a lot that I could grab up to now. I'd say that about him. I mean, technically Blanchland's the standard, isn't it?
Yeah, the Zetland's a good run.
Yeah. I'd be a bit underwhelmed if 2 or 3 couldn't improve past him, really. But I think this has the potential to be a bit of a race. I think I'd ruin with Canberra Legend.
At the prices, yeah. I do respect Jack's because before Chelmsford, I really felt this horse was going to have a really good season. It's a really good horse. But what do we think, chaps, also about Regal Honour? Because are we discounting that? Appleby's not averse to winning with the second string, as happened on many occasions. And this horse, I thought, did incredibly well to mow down Greek Order. The 4th horse gets stuck in. It showed a decent level of form. Winning, I know it's only 73, but at least it won the handicap. I just think that might be upping trip significantly.
I thought the first run was probably as meritorious as the win.
Yeah,
really, because he did everything. He did everything wrong at Debian.
Yeah, and when you consider that the winner that won that race, Colesai, that's in that's also in the race, and that's got an Irish Guineas entry. You just think, well, Regal.
It'd be a Scorpio type than all that.
So I wouldn't discount the boys in blue either. I just want to take on Goslin's because I don't care how it's working, what it's doing. I don't like Quentin made a very good point. Not just the Siuni angle, the fact that the siblings they basically showed all their form on either good decent ground or stroke all weather, and that unless it dries out significantly, which the going stick, I'm just trying to look what the latest going stick is. 5.1 this morning. All right, might dry out a bit because of the warm weather. That's where we, the temperatures aren't too bad, so it's quite difficult to know how soft it's going to be. But very, we can take this on, I think, with enough to take the
Well,
Gosling on.
I look at that damn side as well. Now, I did notice one or two things on debut where I thought he could just maybe go the wrong way of that one.
Yeah. Blanchland, a negative stepping back in trip, chaps, do we think?
Yeah, I certainly like the horse. I think, Quentin pointed out this is going to be too sharp for him. I mean, he looked like he was wanting more than 10 as a 2-year-old. So I do like the horse. I think he'll come forward a bit this year. I could see him as a sort of Queen's Vase type. He'll probably take them along for a fairway Wednesday. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be quick enough for this.
Yeah. Anything to add than what we've already discussed, Quentin?
Yeah, I kind of agree with your point of Regal Honour. He did remarkably well to Greek Order. He ran down. Cholton's loved that horse, and he's a proper look at that one. Obviously he's going to improve the longer trip. I'd rather have backed him than Boldak. That's just my opinion. But no, Canberra Legend for me. Coleside you can't have at the prices. Maybe one I might end up saving on just because when you just want to save on something just in case. Kilbegg's Warrior I thought stepped up a fair bit from the Kempton reappearance at Chelmsford. I know he was better positioned in the race in terms of like nearer the pace, but yeah, he was hung out 3 deep all the way throughout that race, and he could just get him. Kingscote could get him rolling along here, and I don't know. I'm not going to let him run free at like 25-1, something like that.
Yeah, he did run quite well at Chelmsford after a toughish trip. Only one thing I would say, and I forgot to mention it, I usually do, wind form this week at Newmarket. Wind form. Yes, folks, it's 19 miles an hour into their faces. So it's going to be important possibly to get some cover. So I won't be rowing in this week with the fronters. I don't think the front angle's the place to be. I think I'm not saying get way behind, but taking a nice lead, getting in the slipstream, and getting the shelter from that wicked northeasterly, which will be blowing sort of 2/3 into their faces from the stands and into them. So that might play a part in terms of your punting and thoughts for the week, rather than thinking, right, I'll nick a few quid on these front enders. Right.
Nobody will want to do that, surely.
Well, I mean, Newmarket is like...
when they've got Beverley to play with.
Exactly, Beverley tomorrow, yeah, for your fronters. So there you go. You don't need Newmarket. Right, so we've gone to the Nell Gwyn, which is the fillies trial for the Guineas, and a very genuine classic contender here is the Slim trained Coppice. I mentioned this on Twitter, I think after it ran, and said 33-1 for the Guineas. He's very, very fair. It's a risk reward kind of, but I had no idea if she'd get here or whatever, but it looks like she has. And she's got a lot of quality, this filly. I think she ran to 100 on debut on the Billy Idol. I think she's very, very smart. And I'd just be worried, chaps, though, about the ground. That's the only sort of issue I've got. The ground comes up soft and testing. I'm not sure. Given the turn of foot she showed in the final furlong, we don't want that blunting. Thoughts on the race?
I kind of saw the entries for this race and thought it would be weak enough, in all honesty. I was hoping the ground would dry up a bit more than it has. I played a Friday night, Saturday morning for the 1000s at double figures. The ground is a concern. She's not overly straight-legged, and the Dam has a Group 3 win in France on soft ground, which does help. The former Kempton's strong enough. You had the second that came out and bolted up, and Coppice herself, I think second final sectional was like 10:72 or something off the top of my head.
Ridiculous. One of the fastest times, I think, at Kempton ever for the final furlong.
Like she's classy, and I don't think it's, despite the numbers, I don't think it's overly deep. You kind of got Inner Space, who's the once race one, Sayuni, that's dropping back in trip. Given how strong that was through the line at Kempton, geez, you wouldn't want. You'd think that needed 10, not 7. Fairy Cross, that the form's weak, isn't it? If that's your second favourite, you want to be beating that 3 lengths fairly handily, in all honesty. One at a slightly bigger price that I thought would have a half a squeak would be Barefoot Angel. Checked him running in the middle of the track at Redcar at the back end, and was strong enough for the line. I thought it was kind of crying out for 7 furlongs. But no, it would be. I'm not going to have a play in the race. I've got my anti-post position. If I had to advise someone, it'll probably be having a small anti-post bet at, I don't know, 8-9 to 1 on Coppice to win the 1,000. I don't think Welds turns up in the race, in all honesty. So yeah, that would be my angle into the race.
Good stuff, Jack.
Yeah, similar really. I don't think it's the deepest renewal, to be honest. Couldn't really crab Coppice. Like to win at Kempton, lot to like there. And yeah, the way I'd probably play the race is the old contingent double, as I like to call it. The old SP Fav and backer for the guineas as the other half, if you can. On the proviso that if she wins and wins well, she'll get chopped a few points. And if she's shit, she's shit. So that's the way I'd probably look at it, to be honest. I mean, there's a couple of interesting entries. I like Inner Space, but as Quentin said, she's going to want further than this. Girl Racer was interesting. I know they thought highly of her on debut. Interesting that they've chucked her in at this end quite so soon, but she's got a lot to find to really. I could see her running second, though, to be honest. I don't like Fairy Cross very much at all. But yeah, hopefully we see a half decent performance and another Guineas contender.
No, corking, yeah. So hopefully Coppice can do the business. Quentin's backed her. I didn't take the 33, so I can't really claim that I've had a big anti-post bet or anything. I just thought at 33 she might be worthy for someone to take last autumn, but I'll cheer it on for Quentin anyway if he's back to anti-post. John, thoughts on this?
Coppice, no sweat.
Yeah, no. Ground, does that not worry you at all?
No, not the slightest.
Right, good enough for John then. John's not bothered at all. Banker material. All bar stewards are in the Coppice camp.
Be a blogger bet, that one, won't it, for sure?
You'd think so. That's what Selfie Stick will come out, with a betting slip, and when he's collecting.
Won't be the only stick that comes out.
Why?
You might do a market raising if that wins.
Why do you know anything about why the Stallions jacked him off, John?
Jacked him off.
I mean, like they're not a team anymore, are they? They're not a,
I think the Stallion probably got sick of people taking the piss out of him, to be honest.
Do you reckon?
I actually bumped into him at Royal Ascot last year, and I'd had about 14 pints by that point. But I think I vaguely remember making a jibe about does he owe you a few quid, and he didn't disagree with me, so that's my guess.
The Stallion. So you like the Stallion, Jack? You?
He seemed better value than Blogger gives him credit for, to be fair. I thought he was all right.
Right, good stuff. Right. Okay.
So knock that out of you, Jack.
Thursday, got the Abernant and Craven. The Abernants, I've never interested in Abernant. I hate the race. So we'll go on to
try calling it the Abernant instead.
Yeah, the Abernant. Yeah, well, that's how much I hate the race. I don't even call it by its right name, John. 3:35. Fuck the Abernant. 3:35. It's the Craven. This is where all eyes are on this. Eyes all over the place. And I've tipped up one in here, and in the Simon Egg Crisford Night. I think that's a horse very much look forward to this year. Crisford have the juice, and that's where I am in the Craven. So I'll do the rounds here. John, I'll come to you first on your views on the Craven.
I don't think this is a particularly exciting Craven.
No.
To be honest. I don't think we've got a Guineas winner in here.
No, probably not.
I think Given finished off last season pretty well, and I think he'll be ready for this, and he'll see the trip out well. I think the Foxes probably represents a bit of value around the 8-1 mark. It's not a race I would be keen to have a bet in, to be honest.
Would you maybe change your mind if you saw them like pre-parade and something like blew you away?
Something that'd have to knock my eyes out with how well it had done, to be honest. Because my notes on these last year, I'm not slavering over the race, to be honest.
I thought you liked Night though a little bit. You thought it was tidy sort. You told me.
Yeah, it's tidy enough, yeah, but I wouldn't be sure it had bags of scope for this year. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, so John's in the don't know camp for the Craven. Too difficult. Quentin Franks?
I think the ground's going to play it's going to play a big part. So, what we know Monday afternoon, it's a fair way down the down the road. I kind of didn't like the top two in the betting at all. You had Naval Power, who bled at HQ and just looked to not handle the course. I'm not sure if that was it bled then. It looked like it didn't handle the course. Mysterious Night, I kind of had soft ground doubts given it's like kind of untried on it and the family hardly screamed easy ground. Night, you can't really crab Night, can you?
I thought to do that on second start, I thought was quite impressive because we know how Gray's Monument. I know people say, yeah, but it's come out of nurseries. But I remember talking to you about Gray's Monument after York, and you even said probably listed stroke Group 3, didn't you? You said that. And so the fact that he dispatched of an experienced sort of battle-hardened like soup monster and just kicked him out of the way, no problem. I think, anyway, sorry, I'll let you carry on. Sorry.
No, Knight's the rock solid one. He's the kind of one. There's two solid ones. One would be the Foxes. If it's soft ground, I've kind of got ground concerns, like given he's half the Bangkok and Matterhorn even, who didn't want soft ground. If it came up good ground, then I'd probably have the Foxes on side. If it's soft ground, I'd probably want to have Knight on side. Don't like the top two in the betting. Mr. Mustopheles, I hope they don't run it here and spunk that mark up the wall. Before you said about the 19 mile per hour headwind. I kind of thought Finn's Charm was semi-interesting given he clocked. I know he had the run of things at Musselburgh, but first try on that sort of ground and clocked a fair old number. He could get them going from the front if there wasn't such a strong headwind. Like you say, it's not a fantastic
tailwind by
renewal.
Thursday, couldn't it?
Not according to the forecast. It's
It's all right.
Thank you, Laura Tobin.
It's I'm Laura Tobin, John, and it's on Thursday. It's 17 miles an hour northeast, which is it becomes more of a crosswind, but it's still.
I tell you what, Ray, I wouldn't do a fraction to you where I'd doubt a Laura Tobin.
I should hope not. Yeah, God, you always put mental images in my brain. I always think in pictures. It's the simplest way. It's the simplest way. So Quentin, where were we?
Top of the ground, I'll probably play the Foxes. Soft ground, I'll probably play Knight. If the headwind's not as strong, if Michael Fisher's got it wrong, then I'll be having a small play on Finn's Charm as well, who can probably get them going from the front.
Good stuff. Okay, Jack.
Yeah, I'm in the Knight camp, Lee, as you know, horse I like a lot. I've just tipped him up as an outsider for the Guineas. He's going to need to win this if he wants to make that lineup. A shrewd judge who I know, whose judgment I trust pretty well, has said he's seen him recently and he looks very well and has come on over the winter. As John said, I wouldn't see it as the deepest Craven. So on that basis, I'd be keen to play him. I thought the Foxes was really interesting, just in the sense that he's in the race, to be honest. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, last I heard, Baldwin was going to stick him away for a Derby trial. Doesn't have a Guineas entry. So anyone hazard a guess as to why they've chucked him in here? I know he's not declared yet, of course, but looks like he will be.
It's fair point because he's got an Irish Guineas. He's in the Dante, so yeah, they clearly seen him probably as a middle distance horse.
Darshan there, isn't it? You know, I mean, Jesus, if he could win this over a mile, you'd have to think he'd be right. Well, he'd be bang in the Derby picture, I think, if he could win this at a mile.
Yes. Obviously, Oisin jocked up at this stage in the saddles naturally. So, yeah, it's interesting that all four of us, Knight and the Foxes, that's interesting that we're all sort of matching on that. It's probably where we are in the Craven. But maybe, like John says, maybe approach it with a pinch of salt at the moment. Wait and see what the ground conditions are like on Thursday. Don't go overboard. Okay, any other business chats before we round off our excellent Craven preview?
I'm hoping somebody's got one in the Abernant.
Got one in the Abernant.
Go on, Jack.
No, I haven't, Lee, really.
Go on, after you, Lee.
I thought I want sort of Gareth to win a Bernard because just after he's called me out for my pronunciations, I want Gareth now.
Yeah, you want it to be Charlie Hills and Susan Roy's only winner of the rating, don't it?
I do, yeah, absolutely. Quentin?
I got a few notes in the closer on Wednesday. Probably the most interesting one would be Like a Tiger. off a mark of 83. I think it's up in trip, test the stamina also. I think he's a fair bit better than 83 and will probably be a 95 horse in due course.
Yeah. Interesting that last season, I can remember this on debut, that they were like really bouncing about this like a tiger. They were absolutely, this is a machine. It travelled like the wrath of God. And of course, I was on it and it got nutted by the kilt, with the drunk in the saddle.
My God.
I mean, the kilt and the drunk, what a combination. He seems to be buckied Andrea a lot more does the quilt. So this is what I'm saying. You just want to like chuck yourself off a bridge, don't you, when that happens? And yeah, so like a tiger, that's an interesting one because they did tout that up a lot on debut last year. That could be interesting, like Quentin says, off 83. Anything else, Quentin?
A lot, but a lot depends on the ground, in all honesty.
It's difficult.
A hell of a lot of notes in the novices. If it comes up really soft, then I'm kind of still think Alice Dancer, despite going up in the weights for this Donny win, is still well handicapped off of 100. Apart from that, it's kind of tricky. Yeah, as I said, it's tricky with the ground. So
Nobody spring meetings miles better, isn't it?
Nice card Saturday.
Yeah. Fuck the Craven, really. Fuck it. Yeah, Newbury on Saturday. That's where it's at. And we'll be back on Friday covering that as well. So if we're all done, chaps, I think that we're going to call time. So I hope you've enjoyed this preview show. And if you're not a subscriber to Patreon, please do so, because we will still continue to produce the work that you require to improve your betting and make more money. That's all from me, John, Quentin and Jack. Bye for now.